Hey everyone, I hope you've had a great day so far and that you're doing well. For this video, we'll be going through an unboxing and review of Studio Series Voyager class Starscream, number 72 of the line. And this particular version of Starscream is from the Transformers Bumblebee live action movie. And as for the figure, he may have actually come out back in 2021. Only 2 years behind the 8 ball. It's not bad. It's not great, but it's not terrible. So continuing through the Decepticon side of the Transformers Bumblebee cast. So previously before this, I finally opened up Soundwave, and he was a bit of a treat, but this time deciding to go to Starscream. So I still have some PTSD from when I did Ramjet, so time will tell how this goes. So, front of the box for Studio Series Starscream, so that's just a better shot to get a nice glimpse of his CGI artwork. We do have Starscream obviously inside the packaging, back in the day when plastic was everywhere. So, plastic window, Starscream himself will be in a plastic shell, so yeah, it's a lot of plastic back in the day. But there you go, goes to show what happened 2 years ago. Side of the box, 72 Studio Series Starscream's head, and then another shot of Starscream when it's not being blinded by light. Back of the box, so Cybertron falls. I'm getting pretty used to seeing that. In fact, we see it most of the time as a backdrop. 31 steps of conversion between his robot mode, and the colors do look very nice there. Very Starscream looking. And his Cybertronian Tetrajet mode. So that'll be interesting to see how that comes across. Especially given that similar mold was used for Ramjet. And he became an Earth jet plane. Before we get any further, so in terms of the blurb, Starscream and the Seekers destroy the Autobot launch pad on Cybertron in an effort to prevent their escape. Yes, there were many missiles raining down on that poor launch pad. But that was still a very brilliant scene for the opening of the movie. So that is the back of the box. So now that we've done that, time to crack open the box, pull out Starscream, and do what we usually do. And with everything out of the packaging, so we have one accessory, which we'll look at in a bit. We have Starscream. I'm not sure if they're supposed to be tabbed up or down. Maybe they're supposed to actually be tabbed up. Oh, what am I doing? Who knows what I'm doing? Destroying things, apparently. Starscream, who we will have a look at in a little bit, but I will admit, I'm really liking the colours. We have the manual, pretty stock standard. Before we get too carried away, bring through Starscream's Scenic Backdrop. So one Starscream, one Scenic Backdrop, and a very terribly bruised Starscream. In fact, I'm going to do this somewhat properly. Probably not. Oh, kind of yes, kind of no. Suffice to say, this is not the best angle to pull this off. So, Starscream does actually look quite big compared to the backdrop. So, granted, it would be already done, but hopefully, by the time you see this video, you would have seen the teaser images for the video, which would have been in the community tab. So that'll be the hope for that, in which case I can take some better pictures compared to trying to do it during this video. Starscream will come back to you in a second. Manual, nice image of Starscream. So the first step is just basically showing you how to just position the wings, because they are obviously not in that position when you take them out. And then we have 17 steps on the first side of the manual. I won't go through all of them. I do feel it actually might be somewhat easier than compared to when I did Ramjet, which will be interesting. Could be one of those cases where certain molds are really optimized for their initial release and then the retools are not as great. But either way, 17 steps there, and then on the back we do have the rest of the steps, which I'll try and pan through on the video. Also won't go through every single one, but it's definitely very interesting. So 31 steps to get us to the Tetra Jet. We do have a nice little image of where weapons can attach and detach, and then back in the day we did have a preview of the upcoming releases, and this would have been Autobot Hot Rod from the 86 movie line, who at some point in time I will try and start also going through as well. So that was the manual. Will I need that later? Probably. Accessory. Can't tell if it was purely black and then painted blue, or was printed in blue and then painted black. I think it was printed in blue and painted black. But either way, it is very nice colours, and that will just stick over Starscream's hand / arm. It's definitely not too bad looking. I do like how it does look more like it's an integrated weapon as opposed to a traditional handheld weapon. But it also does make his arm very long, and for whatever reason, which I'll complain about later, his arm feels loose. Anyway, not part of that review yet. So that is Starscream with his accessory. He does have 2 additional weapons here as well, which are detachable, and I suspect he can probably hold those as well. So if I detach that accessory, which we'll come back to later, and just for sake of discussion, can you hold this one in your hand? Yes. In fact, that one actually might be slightly better because it's not too weighted. It's definitely a nice movieverse way of trying to do a bit of the null rays around the side without necessarily being on the arms. But anyway, so now that we've had a look at the accessory, Starscream. So Starscream from the front, the side. Do look like you've got a really weird back tilt. The other side. Now I did see this earlier, and I don't know. I like the colours and the composition. Being Starscream, like the red, the grey, the Decepticon logos, they just look really good. Like it's a really nice homage back to G1. Starscream's other side, and then a close-up on Starscream's head, bit of his chest features and things like that. Very interesting. So, that was a bit of a quick 360-degree view of Starscream, some description. So in terms of colours, Starscream is Starscream. So he has bits of blue, bits of red, a bit of black, a bit of silver, a little bit of white, mainly in the wings. I think, did I mention he has a bit of black? A little bit of yellow and grey. Overall, like, it's very much very typical Starscream colours, and they, to me, I think look wonderful. Especially given that, whilst inspired by his later, what do you call it later? But anyway, his G1 design as a Cybertronian variant, the colours just work really, really well. So visually, I quite like it. And even with some of the detailing on the forearms, top of the legs as well, it just adds that extra visual aesthetic, which is really cool. And even the wings actually look quite nice. They're not your traditional folding and sliding. There's a little bit of a gimmickness about them. Now, I've had a quick look at your colours, I've had a quick look at you. What can you actually do? So articulation, the head can do a full 360. it does have a little bit of tilt up, but it doesn't seem to stay fixed, so you'll be mainly using the 360 head spin. That's still not too bad. You can still pull off at least direction poses with his head. Does the waist have any? I'm just going to actually assume no. Okay, so there's a little bit of motion at the waist, mainly because the actual joint doing it is actually at the hip area. Well, the hip / waist area. It's actually not within here. Well, it kind of is, but yeah, it's just in that section in there, which is actually kind of cool. Now, how far do these go back? Can you do? Okay, the joint is fully capable of a 360, but because of the wings, you do need to make sure this arm is not in the way. Otherwise, the arm, if I was to do it this way, will obviously connect into the wings. So definitely keep that in mind. But the arm can go all the way far out to the front, up, down, which is always good. Now, can I use the rotation at the arm as well? So there will also be rotation up here in the upper arm, which is always very good. There will be a, it's a bit more than 90, 135 degree elbow bend, which is very cool. Yeah, you can almost, yeah, there you go. You can make Starscream hold the back of his head in complete bewilderment. So there's that. Is there any more motion there? Not really. So you do have some good motion in that arm. And just to wrap things up, the hands won't necessarily move. They'll fold back into the forearm. So if you want to clamp, well, if you want to count that as some form of movement, it is there. But otherwise, elbow, top of the arm, and the shoulder joint itself. Now, to my commentary about it being loose, it seems to just be this arm, and it's probably just my copy. This arm is much more sturdier and not as subject to gravity. So most likely, as I said, it's probably just my version. Okay. Your wings. Now, I think in robot mode, they're probably supposed to stay more like that way, but we do have some movement here, and there's a bit of movement there, and movement up here as well, but that's more transformation than actual wings itself. But visually, they do look very, very nice. I would classify this as a little bit of kibbling, but it's still relatively flush, and even with the wings, I mean, they're definitely not too bad. Like, the wings do stay in a particular pose and things like that. In fact, that's what it looks like from the top. And yes, Starscream does stand on his own, which is cool. We've already talked about the waist. In terms of the hips, probably 1 degree shy of a full split. So leg will go all the way out. Leg can go all the way to the front. Leg can not well, can go to the back that much just because the wings are in the way. Not great, but that's okay. You can still get some decent movement within the legs at the hip joint. So if I bring the leg up in terms of the knee bend, what do we have? Just over 90 degrees. Just. But that's a standard knee. Is there any... Okay, so there will be some swiveling up here at the very upper leg. It is not going to be a full 360 because this red part will ultimately get into the joint connector at the hip as well. So you can definitely swivel the leg around, but you're not going to be able to swivel them as a full 360. So that is cool. So it's nice to have some of that articulation up there. The knee's pretty standard. Nothing much in the lower leg. And in terms of the feet, you get a little bit of side to side, mainly because of transformation. And like a smidge of up and down at the feet. But otherwise, that's about it. So overall, definitely not too bad in terms of articulation. I think the colours are still definitely winning me over for Starscream, as well as the general visual aesthetic. So yes, if I was to ever put Starscream up somewhere, it'll most likely be his robot mode. So now that we've looked at the robot mode, I'm going to try and convert him, and hopefully I'll be here for half an hour. Although I feel it might be slightly easier because it doesn't have that annoying bit that Ramjet had. So in a few seconds, literally, for the video anyway, Starscream shall be transformed. Okay, I can safely say it did not take me a few seconds or minutes, it took me several minutes. So for 31 steps, there's definitely, I don't want to say challenging, but it's a little bit involved, so I think that actually can be a good thing for the playability side of things with the actual transformation. It definitely was a very interesting one. Did I find it actually slightly easier than Ramjet? Slightly. Still very interesting, but slightly. Now, I will preface this now. He may be mistransformed. Did the best I could. Everything seems to fit okay. Everything looks kind of okay. So, who knows? So there we go. Caveats out there. Could be mistransformed. If he is, well, can't say that I didn't hint it. Anyway, Starscream in his Cybertronian jet mode. Now, it actually doesn't look too bad, depending on how you look at it. It does seem a little bit clunky in some areas, but it's still quite interesting, and I think from certain angles it will look really cool. So from the front, and yes, I think that bottom bit is part of the clunkiness, a bit of a side angle from the actual side rear, the rear, which actually doesn't look as bad as it's from the front, and then the other side from the top. And I will admit the wing profile here does look actually really cool because they are sporting a bit of that curvature. And then if we really wanted to, from the bottom. And I do have all the accessories attached, so the main accessory and those two black quote-unquote null rays have also been attached. So it's actually very cool looking because it does have that nice little trifecta of weapons. So overall, the Cybertronian jet mode actually doesn't look too bad. The colours still look very nice, so we do lose a lot of the red and the blue, so it becomes very much more of the usual grey, but there's a good amount of this red still coming through, whether it be actual red plastic or red trimming on the wings. The blue is pretty much within the tail fin and the tip, and we get a bit of the black and things like that coming through. So overall, I'd still say visually it does look very cool. I still wonder if I've done something wrong here, but I don't think I have. It just looks clunky. So don't count on any articulation, which is probably a good thing. Quite surprised by how well the weapons store, and as soon as I say that pretty much starts detaching, there will be some tabs at the front and the back to support the weapon. So overall, I do actually like the look of the jet mode. Transformation was a little bit there, but usual disclaimer, first time transformation, getting used to things, obviously doing it during a video I don't have all day, so yeah, there's a little bit of a time sensitivity. Yes, that is actually quite cool. And the good thing is, because of how the wings are, the main accessory, it actually does look quite nice just on a table like that. So if I do Thundercracker, that'll look quite cool between having a grey and blue. And, well, if we ever get a Skywarp, that'll be cool. So Starscream over there. Actually, can we bring you a bit closer? There we go. So, what are my final thoughts? So, Starscream, robot mode. Visually, very nice. Colors are good, the detailing is good. Definitely have no issues with Starscream visually. The articulation, I'd definitely say, is pretty much a standard Voyager. There's nothing that really screamed out as really terrible. I think the one thing is obviously because of the wings on the back, you will be somewhat limited to what you can do with the arms, but I also don't think you should be flailing the arms that much anyway, so I don't think it'll be too bad. So articulation's okay, colours and look is okay. What have I missed? Now for my one, the right arm, Starscream's right arm, is a bit loose at the shoulder. I suspect it's probably just me being unfortunately unlucky with this one, given his left was pretty much firm and standard, so that's not a problem. The only visual thing I did notice was his arms feel longer than they should be. Now at the same time, he does have long legs, so I'm possibly just looked at it at a bad angle, but I don't know, I thought his arms felt a bit long. It's neither here or there, especially once you start posing them. I don't think will be a problem, but if you just have his arms just down to the sides perfectly flat, you just might feel that it just seems that touch longer than it should be. Now, as for the alt mode, we'll come back to the transformation steps. From the alt mode perspective, once again, the colours look very, very nice. The actual Cybertronian jet form, very nice. It's a nice homage to the Tetrajet without being the exact Tetrajet. So I definitely like how it's got, especially with the bottom. I mean, visually it does look a little bit clunky, but just the way that the bottom has been done to give some of the look. The wings I actually quite like, because they're not perfectly dead straight as we're used to seeing with traditional planes. So it's nice how it gives it a bit of that curved shape. So overall, visually, alt mode, very nice. Very, very nice indeed. The transformation to the alt mode, and this is on the first attempt, probably gets better over time. It was a bit confusing. This is why I've let Starscream, Thundercracker, Thrust, not that he's even in the country, be done this late in time, because I was a little bit, I won't say perplexed, although at the time I was perplexed, a little bit, we'll just call it traumatized, from doing Ramjet's transformation. So that's why I've typically left these ones alone. Now, I do feel these ones are better, and now that I've done it the once, I think I can probably transform it quicker in the future. Will I still need the manual next to me? No, probably more as a reference. Like, I think I'd be able to get back to his robot mode from this with a bit of time. But that is also why I don't do a whole heap of transformation videos, because time is quite precious. So yeah, the transformation can be a little bit confusing, but to that point it could also be very interesting and challenging for how to transform him. So it can go either way. And I will admit, especially with some of these bits up here, the way that they just basically close up and everything, without necessarily having to be fully tabbed in, does actually work quite nicely, and that is also why I think he is somewhat transformed correctly, because a lot of these things do still seem to line up quite nice. And yeah, I mean, to be honest, I don't see what is wrong with the actual look. It is very cool. especially with the thrusters because they do look different. So, transformation, to be honest, if you're just wanting to do something, transforming one of these figures at you probably wouldn't be a bad thing. So, I don't think the transformation is inherently bad. Just be mindful your very first one is more of you all trying to figure out how everything moves. Overall, would I recommend Studio Series Starscream? Yes. Yes, I would. He's definitely a welcome addition to any Starscream collection. We do have lots of Starscreams. A very nice representation of Starscream from the Bumblebee live-action movie. And yes, the mold is reused, but that's besides the point. So, yeah, I'd be very hard-pressed to tell anyone to pass on this because I thought they've done him quite well. And I wonder if I'll actually like Starscream more than Thundercracker because of the diversity in the colours, where Thundercracker will be very blue. So, yes, if I was going to give 2 thumbs up for Starscream, I would probably give 2 thumbs up for Starscream. Definitely solid acquisition, and especially with the Transformers Bumblebee movie, the list of Autobots and Decepticons wasn't huge, so I don't think it's a terrible thing to try and grab all of the figures from the movie, especially since they're probably not going to be making any more anyway. If we're lucky, we'll get a few more secret repaints, but I think that'd be about it. So that will bring to an end the unboxing and review of Studio Series Voyager class Starscream. Overall, I've quite enjoyed the figure, both his modes. Visually, I'm very much digging both modes, and yes, I think I will enjoy the transformation later down the track once I've probably done it 2, maybe 3 times and just get a bit more of a better feel for where everything is going. But I think for the first time it wasn't too bad, and if he is mistransformed, it's not terrible. It could be worse, and that's on the provision that he is actually mistransformed. But it happens, especially in like recording sessions. So thank you very much for watching this unboxing and review video. Feel free to leave a like, a comment, subscribe if you enjoyed the content. All of this does help support the channel, and I do greatly appreciate it. Extra content can also be found on my Instagram account, link to that in the description below, and especially if you're a bit of a regular, you'll know that there will be a parallel short with this unboxing and review, just to do a bit more, some visual look at Starscream. And hopefully as time goes on, I'll fill out more of a community post. I have been letting that drop just a little bit. Next week's video, still Decepticons from Transformers Bumblebee. I suspect it'll probably be Thundercracker. Current guess. We'll see how things go. Since I basically record the following video after I publish the video for that week, so as Starscream grows up, then most likely will be record Thundercracker. With that being all said, stay safe and take care, and I will catch you all in a future video, whether it's still the typical Friday videos, Rise of the Beasts. There is still plenty more to do, so definitely keep an eye out for that, subject to what's been published prior to this video anyway, when this video finally gets published. And obviously there's still plenty of bits and bobs throughout the channel. Now, with all that being said, I'll see you all in a future video.